Welcome back to Political Insiders. We are all together here in New York for a change. I'm John LeBoutillier with Pat Goodell and Doug Schoen. We have a lot to discuss. Let's open up with the issue that made a lot of the news shows over the weekend, the law in Indiana regarding religious freedom or not, to discriminate or not. Governor Mike Pence, front and center in this thing, seemed to be backpedaling a little bit on the Sunday morning shows. Doug?
I think he should. I think in this day and age to be able to effectively discriminate against gays because the owner of a business doesn't want to deal with them is just, it's inappropriate and wrong. And I think that, yes, there's religious freedom, but there's not the freedom to discriminate against anyone because of your religion.
My question is, I'm very confused. I've been worrying about nuclear war, Iran, the end of the world, Christ. So it's been hard for me to understand. This law is based on a federal law Bill Clinton signed in the 1990s, 20 other states have adopted. I find it fascinating it's become so virulent because I don't understand what the problem is. Aren't accommodations, for instance, covered? You're the lawyer as well as our PhD expert and on everything, Doug. Isn't it covered under the Public Accommodations Act?
Yeah, and I think what we're trying to avoid, and the reason Pence was backpedaling, is the clash between two interpretations of two statutes, so that I can, on one hand, not deny you service at my restaurant, but deny you service if I don't want to serve gays. So I think that's the challenge.
But I don't think that's allowable under the Civil Rights 64 Act.
It isn't, but under the interpretation of the Pence legislation in Indiana, it would theoretically and arguably be allowed.
So we're political insiders, not legal insiders.
Right.
So let's get to the politics.
Politics
Mike Pence wants to run for president.
He does.
Is this law and his defense of it so he can move in on the religious right if he runs and try to get that vote?
I'm curious Pat's view, but I think absolutely right, John. This is designed so Mike Pence can find a wedge issue in a very, very crowded field. Pat, do you disagree?
I agree with you. And by the way, I thought he was not backing down that much yesterday.
Well, he says he's not.
I was sawing him being very strong. But you know what? The perception, in the world of perception is reality. And let me just say, a lot of this came, as I read this morning in the paper, a lot of this came from social media, Silicon Valley type, where gay rights is a very important issue. And they kind of blew it up. There's one in Arkansas, by the way, being a similar bill being considered. And Walmart's all upset, is being driven to be upset. So, which is the biggest employer in the country, but and particularly in Arkansas. So, but I think the politics of it are, the Republicans don't seem to keep understanding. None of this contributes positively to what they need.
Right. Pat is making, John, a very important point, which you should speak to, which is the issue that the Republican Party is against everything and against everybody and doesn't have a positive, inclusive agenda.
Or, as Martin Hinton said to me before, our
senior producer
and our leader, before we went on the air, which is, how does this fit the conservative big government? We hate big government. Here's the big government allowing people to keep gays out, big government being used by conservatives to run their own social agenda.
It also speaks to the...
Also, I don't know how you identify when someone walks in your establishment that you're gay or not.
Well, they come in, they say, here's my mate and I are getting married. We want you to buy the flowers for the
or we
wedding.
Would like to have our brunch here to celebrate our nuptials.
Yeah. Now, listen, other things factor into this thing. We have the Final Four is going to be held in Indianapolis this Saturday.
Would you, John, move the Final Four out of Indianapolis?
I think they're going to look at it, but it's too late to probably do it. But they have future Super Bowl bids. They have future Final Fours. They have the scouting combine. The NFL is very sensitive about this stuff now. Indianapolis gets a lot of stuff in that new stadium there that might look about leaving unless this law is changed.
I don't know why you can't write a statute that protects people's religious rights. I think the Hobby case is a very different case than this, which is about the government mandate that's being resisted on religious grounds and was upheld by the Supreme Court, and one that says why you can't do it with a clause that explains it's not discriminatory, that you're not allowed to discriminate.
Right. Big thing to me is
also
Pence is running for president.
He's running and he wants an issue, and this is the problem. Right. All these Republicans are trying to win they're far right.
Negative.
And it's going to cost the whole party.
All right, for Doug Schoen, Pat Cadell, I'm John LeBoutillier. Now, you got to watch us on Sunday nights. Even this Easter Sunday night, we will be on at 7:30 Eastern Time as always. We love being with you, and we're so happy you watch us. So for Pat and for Doug, I'm John LeBoutillier. See you Sunday night.